Yeah, hey everyone, it's Stephen Francis, also known as Dr. Quacker.
First try, let's go. Is that actually the take you want to go with?
Yep, that's what we're going with.
Okay. We're professionals. This
Yep.
is what happens when you don't record for so long.
It's true. Thank you all for the very lovely comments that you left on the last episode after
really
we've been gone for so long. Yes. So many lovely episodes of people excited that we were back. This is episode 205 of the Adventures in Odyssey Oddcast.
And we're going to talk about, I have to double check the titles so I don't get them wrong. Otherwise I would. The second one is Please Adjust Your Frequency. The first one is The Team.
Yeah, we are starting album 71, A Slippery Slope, beginning with the premiere, episode 922, The Team, written by Phil Lawler. It's the episode that we thought it would be.
I liked this episode. Spoilers. So this episode is Cooper being blackmailed by someone, don't know who, they're using a voice changer. And the blackmailer has been getting Cooper to do all these things. And we don't know for what reason, just that Cooper was at a place where, like, a good Christian kid shouldn't be. And Cooper is told to do something which is leaving him apprehensive. We later learn that this was to sneak into the principal's office, go onto his computer, and change his grades so that his grade on any assignment, just like one thing, is lower. And Emily spots him doing this one day, finds out what is happening, and then tries to help him. And gets help from Suzu and Mori, who this whole time have been trying to still get Emily to join their little, like, mystery solving
It does sound
team.
like this is taking place immediately, like the same day as the end.
This is taking place the day after.
Yeah, so I wouldn't say it's like, oh, they're still trying to get her. I mean, it sounds like this is still the same conversation, basically.
Still second day in a row.
I think this is, well, okay.
Well, Emily says that yesterday she was in detention. So, like, yesterday would have been the 70 finale.
Well, I mean, yesterday was the main event of that episode, but it sounds like she's literally walking away from when she, like, exploded at them.
No, she said that she was in detention yesterday, unless there was another day that passed. She got mad at them, like, the day they got detention. And Emily said she was staying late at school that day because she had to work on something she missed.
Yeah, she did say
class.
That. But when she got mad at them,
before.
Wasn't that her serving detention for breaking into the principal's office, not the detention that they were in for the body of the episode?
I don't remember. I haven't listened to that.
I feel like it was they were picking up garbage or something like that. Yeah, they were picking up garbage when she exploded at them.
I always assumed that was, like, later that day they were doing it.
No, they were already in detention after school at that point. So
but I assumed that was, like, them going back to detention.
No, I think that stuff already took an amount of time. It was already, like, the end of the day. Teachers are going home at that point. I think this is the next day. Because
that would mean in the beginning of this episode when Mori and Suzu were just like, hey, join our team, this would be like half an hour after they
if you listen to the first couple lines, they're like, hey, Emily, come back. And it makes it sound like they're literally, like, coming after her after she stormed away at the end of that episode. Like, this is literally seconds after that episode ended.
Oh, okay. It could be.
I'm not 100% sure, but if you listen to it, it sounds very much like this is literally them walking after her, continuing off the end of that scene.
Mm-hmm. So...
Anyways.
Their team is called, like... EMS. And then it later becomes CEMS. It was almost MS at one point. Yeah. Cooper basically joins their team later at the episode officially. I'm thinking he's going to be
if only Emily's name was like Larry or something, then they could do LCMS.
I'm thinking Cooper's going to be like the Fred, like the big... I don't want to say dumb. He's smart. They show in this episode he's smart.
Fred's not. He's the one who's always saying split up.
No, I'm saying Cooper's smart. Fred's not smart. But yeah, Cooper's basically going to be the muscle. They're at the end of this, like at the end of their arc, they're gonna have like 7 people on their team or something like that, and it's gonna be like we can assign like heist, just tropes to all of them, and I'm very ready for that. So they all work together in non-illegal ways, as they're told to. There's kind of some illegal stuff that happens.
Yeah, I like how Emily's
Suzu
like,
sets
we're
off
gonna do
as
this.
a robot that sets off a ton of fireworks, and that is not legal for people of her age to have.
Also,
so.
they're like, Emily's like, we're gonna do this without breaking any rules, and then they do the whole thing where they like, hack into the principal's computer to set up like the fake mirror of the grade system on his OS. And while I agree they didn't do anything wrong, I would certainly not say they didn't break any rules.
Yeah. And like I just said, it's illegal for minors to have fireworks.
Yeah, to set off pyrotechnics like feet from a school. Yeah.
And so the hacker has a bit of trouble, like, getting into the system, eventually does. They also realize that the hacker is, like, tracking Cooper's phone, so that's how they know where Cooper always is. So instead of turning off the tracker, Maury just reroutes it, so it makes it look like Cooper's going to places where he usually walks, which I was very happy he did that, because I'm just like, Maury is smart, because I could see a lot of series just being like, oh, I turned off your homing beacon tracker thing, and like that will immediately tip the person who's like watching you off that like how you're being tracked.
Like that's basics 101.
Yeah, I know, but there's still so many series I watch where it's just like, oh, we just turned this thing off and hoped that they wouldn't really think about that and what it means and the fact that we know that they're watching us and how and stuff. So they do like a reverse tracker thing on the guy who's been blackmailing Cooper through him linking to the professor's computer. And they find him in an abandoned mall. I would love to know where this abandoned mall is.
They called it like an N or an inn or something like that. I couldn't tell what they were saying.
Every time a new building is just mentioned in Odyssey, I'm always just, ooh, Devin's gonna have to figure out where this is.
I didn't even write this one down on my list because I couldn't even parse what they were calling it.
I mentally pictured it
Someone out there
as
could
like
figure
the
it out.
abandoned mall from the Harley Quinn TV show.
Yeah, I was surprised by an entire abandoned mall mentioned.
I was thinking, like, what mall? This is Odyssey. Like, there is a mall, but like, Odyssey's not big enough to need 2 malls.
Well, why do you think it's abandoned?
Yeah, I know. I knew you were going to say that, but like, why? Why has the building never been repurposed? There's too many abandoned buildings. It's
so funny,
in Odyssey,
especially for like, oh, it's the place where this like teen hacker's hanging out. It's like they build malls just for the sake of abandoning them to create like a dramatic backdrop for these kinds of narrative scenarios.
For all the property disputes characters have had in Adventures in Odyssey, there's far too many abandoned buildings. We should not have as many property disputes as we do. Granted, lots of them are over wit's end, and they specifically needed to have the soil under that building, so I get those.
Sometimes it's not just about having a building, it's about having access to specific tunnels which are under the building that are connected to the vast underground tunnel network that exists under the town of Odyssey.
Underground Railroad.
Or Blackguard's tunnel that is like from the map in the Blackguard novels.
Yeah. His little
from his Victorian laboratory
tunnel
that he has underneath. Oh man, I can't wait. I don't know if there's new Youngwit or Blackguard novels out.
I checked, like, more on the recent side, and there's just no sign, hide nor hair of any new books.
Okay, at least we're not like super behind on stuff, but
no, we're definitely not behind on books.
I'm always looking forward to when something new comes out there because it's always bananas.
Because usually they would always have like on Goodreads,
Mm-hmm.
just like a blank spot like ready for the cover, and
Yeah.
then just like a name,
Mm-hmm.
like a year in advance.
Mm-hmm.
And
There's nothing
there
there.
isn't anything like that for either series.
Okay. Well, thank you
So-
for keeping your eye on the ball.
You're welcome. It is my job.
Anyways, so they go to the mall.
And they find this dude. His name starts with an S.
Seymour, feed
Seymour.
me, Seymour.
Feed me, Seymour. You haven't seen Little Shop, have you? Oh my gosh, I'm gonna make you watch Little Shop of Horrors. It's really good. It's by Howard Ashman. Does that mean anything to you?
Yes, it means something to me,
Okay.
Victoria.
You didn't say anything. You
I
just kind of nodded.
sagely.
I was thinking, like, if you don't know who Howard Ashman is, I'm gonna kill you.
I know you would.
Here, I'm just checking really quick. Yeah, there's no new books.
Okay.
If there were, I was like, I don't want to be wrong about it.
Okay, so Seymour.
So Seymour's kind of like, I feeling a little feisty, decided to cause problems on purpose. Found someone to blackmail. You seemed like a really easy target, so I decided to blackmail you. And Cooper's
You seem like you struggle with simple tasks.
What is wrong with you? And Seymour's just like, I don't know. And then he like pulls up Richard and he just like deletes all of the stuff on his computer that has
Terror's
evidence.
Root Peter Pan, where it's like, you seem like you get lied to easily.
You seem like adults manipulate you easily and you're very susceptible to lies. That might be one of the harshest burns in... Why is it that Birth by Sleep, like, between that and It's Always About Your Friends, isn't it? At least I have some. Like, Birth by Sleep has, like, the harshest burns in the entire series. Seymour is basically like, you guys can't do anything to me. I still have the evidence of what Cooper did. So I don't think I said Cooper went to a party that I guess got like really out of hand. He didn't do anything at the party and he left very shortly after going there, but the police did gate crash it, and it kind of implies maybe that everyone there got in trouble, but since Cooper left early, he didn't. And they did stuff that would not look good on Cooper at the church or on his transcripts, because it sounds like he wants to go to like a place like Trinity, like a Christian college after school. So we know a little bit about his educational aspirations. That's neat. So Seymour basically says, like, I got my eye on you guys, I'll be watching you, and then leaves. And then Cooper officially joins the mystery gang. And Emily decides that she doesn't like it to be in the mystery gang, and nothing's changed for her really, and then goes home and talks to her dad about things. We get to see Mr. Judge Man
for the first time in 100,000 years.
Yeah.
I looked it up.
And
it's been
same
like
voice.
5 years since he appeared.
It was nice to see him again. If only her brother would return from the war with Priscilla. I'm assuming they eloped, and that's why we haven't seen him in forever.
I know.
Good for them.
I was trying to add this episode to his playlist. I was like, I have no idea what their dad's first name is.
Judge
Judge Jones.
Judge Jones.
Yeah, it is Simon.
It's his full name. It's his legal name. That's why he became a judge, because he's Judge Jones.
Crentist.
It's Be-Boobidifier. That's what I went into the I re-listened to that this past week. I think that might be my most listened to Taz episode at this point, is just the Amnesty live show.
Brilliant episode.
Just so much better than everything else. Oh my gosh, it's so good. So Emily decides to join the team. and then she calls Whit, and that is the note it ends on. So it's basically implied, like, she calls Whit to apologize.
Or be like, wait, I need you to apologize to me. Yeah.
And yeah, so things are going a lot better.
Wait, I need to emotionally move on. I need you to grovel for me a little bit more.
Just a little bit more. Emily's doing a lot better than we thought she would be doing in our predictions, because we thought she would be having like a downfall at the end of her first episode.
Yeah.
And just kind of be like in her low point for the album.
I was glad that she did like kind of express the severity of it well, because I feel like it's in the way that dialogue for this show is written, it would be very easy for them to undersell exactly how like lifelong psychologically scarring it is what she went through. But they were like, we want to be your friend, and she's like, friends don't let friends think they're going to die and put them in that situation. I was like, I'm glad that she like keeps on, because that's the most important thing to keep coming back to. It's the escape room thing.
Honestly, that is the worst thing they ever did to her.
Yeah, that's worse than the worst thing that most people have ever done to anyone in their lives.
And like I'm glad that Maury immediately knew at the end of the episode like why she was mad, and didn't have a moment where he was just like, come on, why are you being like this? Like, she leaves, and Cooper's like, I don't know what's happening. I feel like I just agreed to a very tense partnership. Why did I do this? I can only imagine, like, internally, he's like, I shouldn't have agreed to this. I shouldn't have agreed to this. I should have found out what their emotional relationships were like first.
It's like season 1 of Free, when they're like, hey, Ray, join the swim team, and the entire season, everything's happening with Rin, and he's like, I have no idea what's going on here. I joined late.
What did I get myself into? And Rin being like, so, you swim butterfly.
I don't know what the drama is here. I feel like if Emily does join the team, there's going to be a lot of time where she's still like working through feelings with them, and there's going to be a lot of like passive aggressive stuff, and it's just going to be
cutting.
I
hope they never fully explain things to Cooper,
and
so he's just there, and he's just like, hold on, you guys tried to kill her.
The camera's going to keep on, like, they're going to be arguing, and the camera, like the office, is going to keep swinging over to Cooper, and he's just there like,
and he's just like, this is fine.
So, the episode starts and Cooper is like dropping something off in an alley, and the voice is like tracking his position on the phone.
I thought the voice was Emily at first.
What?
I thought the voice was Emily at first. And then I got really worried it was either Jay or Buck, but they were like really computer savvy and mean. So I was like, okay, it's probably not those two. I was wondering if it was Vance by the end.
It really doesn't sound like Vance.
Return of Vance.
I was like, Cooper's into something a lot more serious sounding than what I expected it to be based on the episode description.
Oh, I didn't read the episode.
Or sorry, the album description, I mean.
I don't remember what it...
Oh, it just said like,
who is Cooper's blackmailing Cooper Calhoun? That's what it says about him.
Yeah, it's like, well, if all I knew about that, I would have pictured it something a lot more like, oh.
Yeah, it just says he's being blackmailed in both descriptions and doesn't give any more information.
I didn't assume it was something as bad enough to be like, drop off things for me in the alley. I'm phoning you from like a voice, like a VoIP with like a voice modulator on. I figured, it would just be like, oh, Jay found out who you have a crush on or something like that.
See, I think the episode kind of benefits from not really delving into any details of what happened at the party, because we're just basically left to assume the worst. Because if they give any like details, like if characters were like, oh, they were drinking or smoking or something like that, I feel like most people wouldn't really care.
Yeah. Well, okay, I'm going to talk about that in a second.
I mean, like, they might care, but, like, not enough to be, like, ruin your life.
Exactly, yeah.
Care?
Okay, I'll talk about it now. The other thing I was going to say was just, like, I was trying to figure out who the voice was over the phone at the beginning, like you were, especially because we just had Maury doing that in the escape room episode. We just had that
I was wondering
3
if it
years
was
ago.
Maury for a second, but I was like, no, surely,
I was like,
surely not.
That really wouldn't make sense at this point.
Where I think I thought the same thing about the 70 finale, where it was just like, okay, is either Mori or Suzu doing this just to cause conflict to get Emily on their side?
Well, that was one of the
But
things
then
we
when
talked about.
yeah, but then like when they were all doing the principal thing, I was like, okay, there's no way that this is like Mori, Suzu, or Emily. And Emily was like one of my main suspects because the voice, I don't know, in my opinion, sounded a little bit like Emily. And I was thinking, like, that would be so interesting if she was just like, I'm gonna cause problems on purpose now out of just the pain of everything I've gone through. But the evil laugh.
She was
I was like,
Mori
Emily
wants to be friends
laugh
with me, now I'm gonna be his nemesis and I'll be the evil one.
But like, yeah, the evil laughs.
Fine,
were the
you want
thing
me
that
to
made
you want to make me the villain,
think
then
it
I'll
wasn't
be
her.
one. No, but because Maury's voice modulation in the escape room episode was so obviously Maury, like based on the cadence of it, I was like, could probably suss out whose voice this is, but listening to it, I was like, I'm not getting anything off of
if
this.
it's a new character, because yeah, I don't know who it was either.
Well, it is
Or
a new
like
character. It's Seymour.
Oh, right.
That's
Never
my point. Was I was
mind.
listening, I was like,
Oh, right. That was my question. Do we know Seymour from any episodes?
Like, I was like, I don't know who this is at all, and then it was like, oh,
For a second,
I'm
some
Seymour.
reason,
I was
I
like, oh, it's just some completely
was,
random new person.
Seymour's connection. Who do you think Seymour's working with? It has
That's
to
a
be someone who
great
has
question.
like computer.
What is special about
computer
Seymour?
knowledge?
What is special about Seymour as a person for him to do this? If he doesn't have any computer knowledge, like at all, on how to do this stuff, what is this special skill that he brings to the table that, I mean...
I think it's that he's power hungry and gullible, so he's easily moldable.
The Seymour is?
Yeah.
Easily moldable by whom?
By
the friend?
whoever is doing all this stuff. If someone wants to cause like chaos and stuff, get someone who's power hungry and someone who's
That's true. So you think he's being used as a scapegoat by the person, the computer person? Interesting.
Definitely. I think this person's using him to stir up trouble in some way. I don't know for what reason, but
see, I was thinking
I think Seymour's like a good person to do it.
A friend who's good at computers, but is just kind of morally neutral, and Seymour's like, hey, I want to be bad, but I don't actually have the skills to do that, so please help me with this stuff. And the other person's like, okay, fine, I'll help you with this. But I mean, I guess technically that makes sense. Like, Seymour just, wants to cause problems, and so he needs other people to help him figure stuff out. But it would be odd to have a character like that, where it's like, I want to cause problems, but I bring no particular skills to the table that we have seen so far. And I'm just kind of like, I don't really have any expertise in anything that helps me do it. I just wanna, so I'm just making up as I go along. I don't know, like,
when you
that
said,
could
I
be the case.
Bad, I heard it in like young Griffin McElroy's voice, like the anger voice. Like, I want to be bad.
Anger.
Yeah,
I wasn't expecting a new character, and I'm assuming that, I mean, obviously Seymour's like, you haven't seen the last of me, so I assume that they're trying to set up like the next an antagonist for the next stage of Maury and Suzu and Emily's storyline.
See, I'm honestly into this. Like,
direct them against a common enemy.
I like that they all have like a new common.
They did it with Mrs.
Kind of like arching enemy, whereas like with Suzu and Maury, at first we didn't know who Emily and Matthew were up against. I kind of guessed it was them immediately, but I didn't 100% know if I would be right or not. But whereas with this, we immediately have like a person to direct like all of the, conflict towards. And just to make it like a little bit better, this is the second in charge, basically. So, like, we still don't know who, like...
Well, we still don't know if he's the second in charge or the first in charge. I read it as he's the first in charge and he has someone helping him. You have the more interesting idea of, like, he thinks he's the first in charge, but he's being manipulated into the person who doesn't want to be the face of what's going on.
Yeah, I definitely think that's what's going on. I I don't know. Of characters we know, I
And that
think like
person
the
is
only one who
Mr.
makes
Charles.
I think the only person who makes sense is Vance. If we want to go with someone we know,
Uh-huh.
I don't recall if we know how much computer knowledge Vance has. He went to jail though, so this would
Yeah.
be like a big return for him.
Yeah.
Just like a
Maybe it's
way to
Nelson.
reintroduce him
Maybe
into the
Nelson
plot.
became evil. Just
They
like
already
Nikki.
did that with Nikki. I don't want them to do it again.
I know, when you were like, who could it be? I was like, Nicholas
I
Adamsworth.
didn't want to say
He's
Nicholas,
back
but
again.
I did think of him. At the beginning of the episode, when Seymour was just like, I want you to do something for me, Mr. Sports Guy, I was just like, you have to steal the owl.
I mean, also just like, speaking of Nicholas, like it smacked very much to me of Eugene's dilemma, where it's like, okay, I'm being blackmailed into changing grades, and I'm trying to find a way to circumvent it by finding a way to change the grades without actually changing them, so I don't actually do any harm. But then someone's probably going to catch me and be like, "Hey, you're changing grades," and then I'll get in trouble for it. And it's Eugene's dilemma.
I really liked the grade plot with this episode, which I didn't really expect when they first mentioned it, because we've had a lot of episodes in Odyssey where characters have to change grades. We could
This
probably
show's
make
been
like
going
a
for so long.
playlist out of it. Like the political episodes, the overactive imagination episodes,
The Eugene
I
is
have to
called
change
in
the
to
grade
save
episodes.
an inside job bank robbery episode.
But the thing is, with this one, they were never caught, which that is new. They were able to
I was really
trick
surprised
the
they got away with
person.
it, yeah.
I know, right? They were able to trick the person into the fact that they changed the grades without ever actually changing the grades, which is also new. Either they usually don't change the grades, or they actually do and then change them back.
Because they had Maury
like
in charge of the plan
but
this
they always
time.
get caught. Yeah, Maury and Susie are way too smart for the government and school systems. And then also, I'm glad that Cooper immediately told Emily what was going on. Was another nice thing. And
it would have been hard to finagle your way out of, don't mind me, I'm just trying to crowbar open the window to the principal's office.
And another thing we haven't gotten yet that they did with the grade changing is it wasn't like change other people's grades to make them higher or change your own to make them higher. It was take one of your grades, which is more on the unique side, and make it lower. And I liked that.
Which makes more sense, because if Seymour wanted to change his own grade or change someone else's that they were paying him to do, that would be much easier to trace back to, like, okay, it's either you or you gave someone money and we can squeeze that out of you if we figure out the grade was changed. This is the least traceable way to do it, is just to, get Cooper to do it to himself.
And as I've mentioned on this podcast many a time, I love chaotic characters, and just having Seymour swoop in and be like, yeah, lol, I mean, I don't really know that much about you. I don't really care. It could have been anyone, but I chose you, and I'm just going to screw with you now. And I was like, you know what? I love this.
His fake-out melodramatic tragic backstory was great, where he's like, you don't even know me. Of course you wouldn't. But
yeah,
it sounded
the second he started saying that, I was just like, and then he was just like, I'm kidding, dude. Like, we have no relationship. I was like,
the delivery of it sounded like, Johnny Berchtold on Twitter, who makes those, like, parody videos of, like, tropey characters in movies where they're giving, like, overdramatic speeches and stuff like that.
Is he the person who did, like, the Divergent parody?
Maybe. He has, like, brown hair, and he's always just, like, talking to the camera by himself, like, no, Dad, you're the one who doesn't understand dreams or something like that. I'm sure you've seen his stuff before. But he had that very kind of like over the top, like, I'm making a joke out of this energy, where he's like, you,
and like also the music in that scene, just like the strings
of Mr. Sportsman, never even spared a moment to know my name. And then I was like...
And Cooper's just sitting there, and everyone else is just sitting there, and they're like, who is this guy?
I was like, this is a very funny joke that he's making. Please let it be a joke, because it's going to be really embarrassing if this is supposed to be taken seriously. But then he was like, well, JK, no, I just wanted to mess with you. And I was like, yeah, I like
Very,
this guy.
very big Clue energy,
Uh-huh.
I must say.
What you were saying before at the beginning. So the party, capital P. I don't think realistically that there is anything that happened at this party that would be bad enough to warrant
Unless
the
it
actions
was
that
murder.
Cooper took.
That's the only thing I can think of. Like, murder or covering up a really big crime, like, are the only things I could really see
the
being,
justification
like, held
from
against him.
Cooper's end that I could see is it started off as something small, where it's like, oh, fine, I'll just do this whatever small thing for you, and it slowly escalated in that like boiling a frog kind of way, whereas like, okay, if you had jumped right into like break into the principal's computer to change a grade, I like would have been like, no, like share the pictures, whatever. Like that is a lot better.
What was that first thing he was doing at the beginning of the episode?
We don't know what
again?
we don't know what it was in the bag. He was
Oh,
dropping
okay.
off a bag with something in it, but that clearly was like the latest in a series of things that he'd been asked to do.
Yeah.
So I assume
I'm gonna assume it was like money or something like that.
yeah, or like he bought something so that
Yeah.
he wouldn't have to buy something. Like I assume it started out very low, where it's like, okay, I don't want to share the pictures, so yeah, you told me to give you $5 or whatever, or do this small thing, and he like slowly escalated it enough that like Cooper felt in like, you know, in for a penny, in for a pound at this point. Either that, or that just unconsciously, like because he was already bought in on this idea, like, okay, I need to do what this person says, he wasn't kind of consciously reevaluating, like, oh, I've reached a point now where the cost of what you're doing is outweighing the risk of like just being found out for whatever it was. Because I mean, he said he didn't even do anything at the party, so it's like, oh, I was there. I don't think his parents will care that much. I don't think his church would care at all. The only reasonable thing would be like, oh, if you are trying to like get into like a really exclusive school that would care about that kind of thing, and it's not someone who like knows you.
Yeah, but
or
like the
would
thing
be
is, who
willing
would
to,
write
like,
that down on his records? It would. The
Well,
only way
no,
I could see the school finding out is if, like, I
he
don't
was
know,
going to send it to
one of the
schools.
million people. Oh, he was gonna. Okay.
Yeah, he was like, I will
Never
send it
mind.
specifically to the schools. And I could see somewhere like that where it's like, oh, you're just another of the gazillion applicants and stuff like that, and we're really exclusive. We're not going to take the time to like, oh, hear your side of the story and be really like forgiving necessarily
Okay,
about
but
it.
like,
But also,
take something like Trinity. Do you think they would give a crap?
No, that's what I'm saying. I
Yeah,
don't
exactly.
think there's anything going on. I assume it was just drinking and people getting rowdy. Probably. Maybe they were doing weed at the worst of it. Like,
See, what I think is that, like, nothing. I think in the story, probably no one would really get upset about it. But if you're, like, in a situation that makes you anxious like that,
Exactly.
and then this person comes along and they're like, no, it is going to screw you over and ruin your life.
That's what I was saying.
And
I don't
then-
think it's so much
yeah.
that this
I
would
think
have
he
been
was
that
tricked.
bad for him. I think that he was like, okay, you're asking me to do something that's not all that inconvenient. I don't want them to find out, so it's just easier to go along with it. And then it escalated to this point where it's like, I'm just doing the stuff that you're saying. Maybe you do the thing where like, you got me to do some stuff for you that I might have also gotten in a little bit of trouble before, and now you've like implicated me in more things as we go, and so now I can't get out of it because you keep pulling me in deeper and
It's
deeper
like
with the
a
things you asked me to do.
feedback loop.
Exactly,
kind of
yeah.
situation.
Just
that
like
first started because
like
he agreed
when
to
Richard
things.
tried to get out, and Blackbeard's like, look at all the stuff
Yeah.
you did. You electrocuted Lucy. You burned down the barn.
But no offense to Emily, but she is kind of a very judgy character. She's like a very judgmental person, which could have to do with the fact that her dad is a judge.
That
I
she
don't know.
literally, for a long
But-
time, wanted to be a judge.
Yeah, that too. But like even Emily just did not give a crap.
Yeah.
That like Cooper was at the
He was
party,
like, I was
and I
at this
feel like that
crazy
should say a
party,
lot.
and the cop showed up and had to bust it, and she was like, oh, cool, yeah, we can get through this stuff without telling anyone about it. And then only at the end she was like, yeah, you should probably tell them, which is fair. I mean, not just in a like, you should let them know, but also then you won't have this sort of Damocles hanging over your head because
Yeah.
you've taken away all the power from Seymour. So like, what's he gonna do? Is kind
There's-
of the more important thing.
I really like that trope, honestly, where characters say the thing before the thing can get out about them, basically. And then, like, the character does, the bad guy, like, does try to
they're like,
unearth the
aha,
thing.
and
And then
like,
all the characters
yeah,
are like,
we know.
we knew that. Like, have you started the new season in Brooklyn
No, I have not.
Nine-Nine? Can I say one thing about it? It's not like a
Okay,
spoiler
I'll
really or
allow that,
anything.
but I'll put up my hands in the air here, and I'll put them down if someone doesn't want to hear it. When my hands are down, spoilers over.
Okay. There's a character this season who I think is like an overarching kind of antagonist who's like a police judge, basically, like advocating for uh, crimes against the police by civilians. And he is trying to like blackmail Holt at one point for like 1 second. The scene lasts like 5 seconds in one of the episodes. It's like a cutaway and then a cut back where he's just like, you have to do this thing for me or I'll tell everyone you're gay. And like he says this scene and it like the camera's on him and the way the camera's positioned, you can actually see the mug on Holt's desk sitting right in front of the guy with like the pride flag and the bi flag right beside each other. And then it just cuts to Holt and he's just like, I've been out for 30 years. And then it smash cuts back to the conversation Holt was having originally. And he's just like, yeah, he tried to blackmail me. And then it cuts to this and then it cuts back to him like talking to Rosa or something like that. And she's like, that guy's an idiot. And it was
end of
really funny. And then
that's very funny.
Later that episode,
and that's the end of spoiler. I put my hands down.
He does the same thing to Rosa. He's just like, tell me, or I'll tell everyone you're bi. And she's like, I've been out for 2 years. And he's
okay,
like, no,
well,
it
I
keeps
put my
happening.
hands down, Victoria. So
yeah,
you can't. I have to bleep you out.
Yeah, so that was just one of the things I thought of where it was just yeah, I don't know, it's like a very funny kind of situation.
I would not have expected Cooper to be someone to get caught up in this team. I didn't expect them in the end to be like, join us. We need someone who can hit good.
I'm really happy with that.
I mean, of all the people, it would have made more sense to ask Buck, honestly.
Yeah.
Because
but like Buck also
Cooper
has
muscles,
doesn't really have anything going on plot-wise.
Sorry?
Right now.
I know.
Cooper doesn't have any plot, so like we'll give him this.
No, I know, but from like a character perspective, it's like, well, Buck has all the muscles, but also he knows scheming and plots and knows how to do a whole bunch of stuff and to like manipulate people. But also, and he like always really likes to help people also and use his skills. But also, you know, Buck's trying to move away from that. And also it was
Buck
like
is already kind of an anxious mess. And his dog almost just died, so like let's just
Cooper was also already there and he's already like still a target, so it's like might as well keep him around because we're gonna need to like keep prying him out of Seymour's sights.
Yeah, like they're gonna need to keep an eye on him regardless now, like anyway, so might as well just get him join the team. This episode does just, I don't know, in a weird way feels very Harley Quinn-y to me, like early Harley Quinn, where it's just like people joining a team together in the mall. We're joining a team
and we're gonna like commit crime so that we can prevent a different crime kind of thing.
Yeah, and we hang out in a mall at one point, like an abandoned mall.
I'll give you that.
Yeah, and I like that.
Even though Emily was like, hey, you should tell your parents what happened, I was surprised that she like went and told her dad everything that happened, because I was like, I feel like that kind of defeats the point of all the cloak and dagger that you guys were doing the entire time.
Yeah.
And then her dad was also like, I feel like you probably should have told the principal. I mean, I don't think the principal would have let them do that.
I wouldn't have told the principal.
I wouldn't have told the principal. But I was like, you're like, the whole time we're like, okay, cloak and dagger, we do all these things, all these ruses, and then Emily's go home and she's like, so I'm going to tell my dad, the judge, about all of this.
It'd be so funny if Emily was like telling her dad and then...
And he arrested her.
And she's just like, so let me start this off by saying we did no crimes. And then just continuously throughout the story is like, nope, that's... I guess that's not a crime technically. And then he gets to Suzu with the fireworks. He's like, nope, that is definitely not legal. Yeah, so I'm gonna give this episode a 5. I really, really enjoyed it.
It also felt very much to me. I mean, the last album episode that happened before this was Let's Call the Whole Thing Off. So very two similar episodes back to back for a very specific reason. I mean, it's not just by coincidence, but like two back-to-back episodes of like Emily reluctantly...
This is basically like a part 2-ish.
Yes, yeah, that's what I mean. Like, it's not just like, oh, these happen to be back-to-back, but 2 episodes in a row. of Emily being reluctantly pulled into mystery solving with Suzu and Mori and having to be more complicit than she wants. I just thought it was so funny how she's like, no, we have to do all these things by the rules and by the books. We're not breaking any rules. But then she was like, okay, I'm helping you guys like set up a fake OS on the principal's computer so we can do this whole thing. And I'm just sitting there was like, what does Emily think the rules are about? Like,
the rule is if you get caught doing a crime,
Exactly.
then it counts.
like you said, Emily talking to her dad, she's like, look, we didn't break any rules. And she tells him the story, and it was like, Emily, I hate to break it to you, but there was a whole bunch of rules that you guys broke you definitely were not allowed to do.
She's like, let me tell you this crimeless story, Dad. And he's just like, actually, there is a bunch of crime in your crimeless story.
I assume just being in that abandoned mall is probably trespassing, if not breaking and entering.
Probably.
Like, I mean, like, who cares? But because it's abandoned and stuff. But like, technically, I assume
It's probably like private city property.
that's what I mean. Yeah, it's trespassing at the
agree
least,
with
I'm
you.
sure, and it's probably locked as well. Yeah, it was a good episode. I was glad at the end that they were like, yeah, we need a better name than this. I was like, EMS, that's not terrible, because he pointed out like, oh, it has like a double meaning and stuff, so it has kind of like a clever meaning to it. But then they're like CEMS. I was like, no, that's
I
not
don't
gonna
know
fly.
what that one stands for.
It's nothing. They're just like, we'll put Cooper's initial in there now. So now we have
I
4
didn't know
letters.
if they were all like acronyms for diseases or something like that.
No,
like
EMS at least is like
MS definitely.
MS is multiple sclerosis or mass spectrometer. EMS, of course, is emergency medical services. CEMS is just like, we're just adding another letter to it. I was like, no, you can't do 4 letters if it's just not even a thing. Now you're just saying letters. This is too much. What if they're just the team? What if that's why the episode is called this?
I hope they're not just called the team.
I assumed
They should call themselves the gang, and then we just get Always Sunny intros to every single one of their mysteries.
After we read the description, like, we figured this one was this episode, but that was because, at least on my part, I figured that was because the team was talking about the football team. Because whenever we see Cooper, it's usually something related to the football team. But 'twas not the case. It is about the team of Emily and Maury and Suzu, and also
football
Cooper.
didn't even come up at all.
Cooper, who is in high school, and the rest of them are in middle school, which is the other reason I'm like surprised that they like put him together.
Cooper was the one who was like suspended along with Buck, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so something I was going to say before is I could see Cooper actually slightly getting in trouble because he was already suspended like earlier that year. So he already kind of has like that on his record.
Earlier that
also
year.
Add
or
him,
some year.
whatever year it is, you know what I mean. But like if he also has like the party, like on top of that, people might start, I don't know, like...
That's a good point.
Coming in on him.
Yeah. If it's like, oh, this is your second or third strike kind of thing, then that's a good point.
I think it would have been beneficial for them to mention the fact that he was suspended for the team temporarily in this episode.
Yeah. Like, oh man, this already happened. I can't do this as well.
Either that or they just wanted us to think of that anyway, but... I mean, you didn't.
I didn't, so they were unsuccessful.
I didn't until we already started talking about this episode, so... I think it would have been good to mention. It works fine without them mentioning it, but...
It adds well to it, I agree. Yeah, I'm going to give this episode 4.8. I really like it, and I think that it builds off of the finale from the previous album while also giving the sense of like, okay, we are officially starting the new chapter of this arc. Like the before, like post Rydell Revelations, I guess was basically just let's call the whole thing off, and that was like an interim episode. But the introduction of Seymour and him being like, You haven't seen the last of me, literally.
That episode was our little melody and memory transition.
This is, I mean, he was very explicitly like, I'm gonna be a villain now, recurringly.
Yeah. I'm excited for Seymour to be in more episodes.
He's also like a mid-age teenager, like a high schooler, I assume.
Yeah.
It's hard to tell based off the voice entirely. I do like the reveal when they're like, we set it up properly. Like, what's going on his end? Why can't he hack in properly? And Morty's like, I don't know. And it's just because he doesn't know how to use computers.
Which honestly, yeah.
He was just following like a click-by-click instructions.
He's such a good, like,
I was like, I wouldn't have expected that to be the reason.
For another antagonist to, like, twist and manipulate. Because, like I said, he's chaotic. He wants power. He's susceptible to making dumb mistakes because of both these things.
He's the perfect
And the fact that he's, like, not that smart.
Yeah.
At least, like, I don't know, like, technology-wise. And he follows instructions well.
Slowly, but
without, like, without questioning things, it seems. Yeah. So, like, he is literally the perfect pawn. I'm very excited to see who the mastermind is in this situation.
Yeah. You're right. It does make it's more narratively interesting, but when you put it out like that in terms of the traits we've seen from him, it does make more sense than that he's just like, I want to do this stuff and I need people to help me because I don't know how to do anything.
Yeah, like I said, I'm going to give this a 5. Any problems I have, like, I guess the only real problem is just Cooper's kind of overreaction and Seymour's about, like, how big the narrative stakes are going to be on them. But I think we explained away pretty well, like, why that also works. Just, like, the escalation of getting him to do things, implicating him in more things.
Especially when we don't know what all the previous stages of blackmail involved, right?
Yeah.
I feel like at least if we knew what he was being asked to do before, I feel like filling that in a little bit might help clarify that ambiguity about, like, why he was able to be blackmailed so easily.
I think it kind of works without that too, though. I think, like, the ambiguity of not knowing every step, because there might be some things where we're like, that's a little over the top too.
I mean,
so, like, the ambiguity behind not knowing what the past blackmail things are and not knowing what happened at the party plays in this episode's favor, in my opinion.
I'll give you that. Okay.
Because you can just assume
the worst.
The worst.
Yeah.
Basically.
So, that's this episode. Now we're going to talk about Please Adjust Your Frequency. Okay, episode 923, Please Adjust Your Frequency, written by Abigail Geiger.
I was trying to look up the name, but you just said it. So in this episode, we basically just have 3 characters, and then does Vance? What was his name?
Vance?
Jay's cousin?
Oh, Vincent.
Vincent. Does he actually talk? Okay. I wasn't sure at some points if he talked or not.
No.
Okay, so we basically just have 3 characters and then one who was a soundboard. So we have Jay, Zoe, and Buddy. And I'm pretty sure I spoke Buddy into existence.
You spoke the Zoe-Buddy dynamic.
I did. I mentioned it the other day, and now it's back. After so many episodes of being gone. So, Zoe, Buddy, and Jay are doing a recording together. At first I thought it was live, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is a tragedy. And then I realized they were just gonna, like, edit it in post, which is also gonna suck because of everything.
Yeah.
But, like, be a lot less worse. And so they're basically doing this recording of a story that Zoe wrote, but then Jay and Buddy keep on rewriting it for various reasons.
Yeah.
And it's like a film noir where Buddy is the detective.
And it's Zoe first school project.
Yeah. Zoe is like the Scarlet
Pimpernel.
And that's what they're called, right? I guess it depends.
I've never heard that term.
I'm pretty sure that's...
I don't know, the Dame.
Yeah, she is the Dame. I'm pretty sure I'm right.
I mean,
It's
her name
just
is
the
literally
term.
D. Amsel, so...
Yeah. Well, there's a noir called Scarlet Street. Just found that out from
Wow, there you
Google.
go.
That's the only thing I learned. Um, Whatever. She's the dame of the story who has the case. And then Jay plays like everyone else. And then Jay's cousin is also there, and he's just going full Odyssey live show with the sound effects.
Yeah.
And
Unspokenly, almost
all
like there
all
was
the
a
moments
specific
where
bit that we weren't getting about like it. I assume it's just because they needed someone to be doing the sound effects and like, oh, it'll be an extra joke if it's someone who's like doing all this stuff. But I don't know why they made up a cousin for Jay that we didn't know existed for that role. It seemed
I don't
strange to
know.
me, like I was missing something.
I think it was just no, I don't know. There were some moments where there would just be random sound effects, and Zoe and Buddy were just like, random sound effects just aren't funny. And I was like, oh, really? Really, Odyssey? we're doing
Me
this,
popping out of the well. Interesting, since you live in a society.
And then there was one moment at the ending where they're just like random sound effects, and everyone's like, ha 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 ha. And I was like, man. All right. And then we have a unfunny joke in the wrap-ups with Chris, which I've already repressed and can't remember.
Did you hear to the very
completely.
end of the episode?
Yeah.
I don't
where they
remember
play
what it
like
was
a
either.
sound effect where while Chris is talking, and then they kind of finish their raps and they leave the recording on, and then Chris is just laughing, and that was actually honestly kind of endearing. I thought that was cute.
Yes.
But like the bit before it wasn't funny. But like Chris laughing, I was like, oh, that's sweet. I like that. And they have to learn to work together to write the story and make it good, and also listen
because
to
they
Zoe
get
more.
like really critical of each other in the studio and their writing abilities.
Mm-hmm.
Like awkwardly, like, oh, we're just kind of tearing each
Zoe
other apart
is
personally.
a writer. She's like a successful writer, and they're really laying into her.
And I will grant to Buddy, yes, journalism is different than fiction writing and stuff like that. But they made some real personal attacks on each other. Like things got heated in there. It was like, whoa, this isn't even like Jay instigating any of these. Like they're really going after each other. And Zoe using Jay's fondness for her, like, just to get him to be on her side in the argument.
And you know what? Good for her. She can do whatever she wants.
Reparations.
Yeah.
She was like, Jay, back me up. He's like, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
She's like, Jay, do you like comic books? He was like, no, I guess.
He's like, do you like comic books? Your answer better be no. And he's like, then it is no.
Yeah, so Zoe wrote the story originally, and then Buddy's like, oh, I rewrote everything without telling you, basically, and made it bad. And then it's
Jay's has a low mark in English and needs to like use big words or like prove that he's good with like his English class or something like that at writing. So he rewrites.
He tried to punch it up, and it was bad.
To, like,
and
make
then
his mark higher in English.
And then Jay's like, well, here's my version of it.
Has the writer for this episode written other episodes before?
I believe so. I've heard Abigail Geiger's name before, but I think she's like the newest person on the team right now.
Yeah, we got a new lady writer.
Yeah, we talked about her.
I like the way she writes Zoe. Can I just say that?
I feel like she's only written one episode before.
Can I just say I want her to write more of Zoe, because I like the way she writes Zoe, where Zoe's just like, I'm not gonna
take this.
I'm not gonna take anything from Jay, and also
or from Buddy.
Gonna or Buddy, and I'm going to like use the fact that he simps for me against him, and I was like, pop off, queen. You deserve it after everything he's done to you.
So the episode begins in media res, and Jay is doing like an ad read for Jay Mineral Water,
And at first I thought this was like a kids radio episode, and I was
Yeah.
like, who would ever agree to this? But then
Yeah, I was like, okay, Jay's doing an ad read. This is probably kids radio, and then it cuts into like a noir drama, and I was like, okay, we've done plenty of these on kids radio before. I didn't recognize Buddy's voice at first, but I'm like, it's
I
weird.
didn't either.
I was like, I expected Jay to be the lead in this when he was also doing the ad. Like, it's like either kids radio or this is Jay has produced an all Jay production of something.
I would listen to an all J noir where he's just like also the woman
all
who's
Jay all night.
one man show. I'm not honestly surprised we haven't gotten like all J every J episode or something like that where he plays every character.
24 hours a J, 7 J's a week.
Where's our J puns? All the episode titles with J puns are gone.
Yeah, so it's Buddy and Zoe, and then finally, once we hit like leading up to or right after the first commercial break is when they finally like come out of the recording to actually talk to each other, and we find out like, okay, this is an audio drama that they're pre-recording. It's for a class project, and that's why they're working together, and we just find out what's actually going on. So the structure of the episode, it was interesting. We got to hear some fun different voices from Jay, which was enjoyable. It's nice to see Zoe and Buddy getting like a little more argumentative and riled up.
I like to see Jay have to suddenly be Russian, and he's like, I don't know any Russian, and at one point he says "si," and he's like, wait, no, that's not right.
Si, oui, da.
Which honestly, I would.
The episode overall, it gave me a very Bob's Burgers feel, because there's so many episodes of that show that involve like, okay, here's a story where like all three of the kids have to give their own spin on it, kind of thing, and all do their own thing with it in their imagination. I feel like they do at least 2 of those a season. And so this was very similar to that, where we got to see how each person would end it, and then they all work together to like formulate the most coherent ending.
I
liked that the lesson wasn't about
this episode.
I liked that the lesson wasn't about like, hey, teamwork is good, and so when we work together we can make a better story. It was like, hey, we should be humble, and sometimes our story does suck and we should listen to criticism from others.
I was gonna name drop some Odyssey episodes, and I'm like, no, I'm not gonna do this. I'm not gonna do that.
Victoria's decided not to choose violence today.
I'm not gonna choose violence today, unlike Seymour and Zoe. Good for her. And good for Seymour. I just have Little Shop of Horrors stuck in my head now.
It's relevant because last night I watched the newest episode of Riverdale, and it was a musical episode.
Can they please stop doing that? Because I saw clips from the Heathers one, and that made all my skin fall off.
This one was not in the conceit of they're literally putting on a musical. They sang a bunch of songs. One of them was the theme song to Little Shop from Horrors. The other ones, maybe random songs. Maybe they're also from Little Shop of Horrors, but they didn't sound like musical songs. So I don't think it was a I don't think it was a jukebox episode like they did for the other 2.
I watched the Amazon Cinderella movie that just came out with Amanda, and I really liked it. But the thing is, it was a jukebox musical of pop songs, but I only knew 2 of the pop songs.
Oh yeah, it was the Beach Boys, right?
No, it was just random pop songs. Like honestly, I think it worked really well for them because they weren't trying to like shoehorn in all these unrelated songs. They could just choose whatever ones
like
worked.
Mamma Mia.
Like Mamma Mia. Also, Pierce Brosnan was in it, and the entire time I was like, "Sing for me, my angel of music." And then
I thought for a second you were just talking about Mamma Mia, and I read,
no.
you're like, oh, he actually is also in Cinderella. It's very funny.
Yeah, no, he is, because I was looking at IMDb. I had like a whole character journey while watching Cinderella. Like, I looked at IMDb when we started the movie to see if I recognized any of the characters already on screen, and I saw that he was in it, and I got so excited, and I was like, please, God, tell me he's going to sing. And every single scene he appeared, and he was married to, oh my gosh, I keep on forgetting her name, to Minnie Rider, who is like she has like operatic training or whatever. She played like Carlotta in Phantom, which is really funny because she was the only character in the Phantom movie who was actually dubbed over by someone else, but she was the only person in the Phantom movie that had like actual training. And so she and him, like, their characters were married, and he was the king and she was the queen, and they kept on just like showing them so much throughout the movie, and every time I was like, please, please, Pierce, just sing. It's been so long since Mamma Mia 2, and they always made you sing at the same time as everyone else in that movie. They learned their lesson with the first movie. He was not allowed to sing by himself in Mamma Mia 2. He had to sing while 50 other people were singing. And I was like, let me hear his dulcet tones. I want my ears to bleed, please. And then later in the movie, he and like Minnie Driver have a fight. And Minnie Driver is just like, you used to like try to woo me when we were younger. You would like go outside my window and you would sing and your voice sounded like a cat dying. And I was like, this is the best movie ever, actually.
I like what you said about her in the Phantom movie is so funny because the fact that Carlotta was the only person to be dubbed over is a very Shakespeare in Love type of meta setup for like Phantom taking place modern day about the making of the Phantom movie.
And then
like she freaks out and she tries to pull pull herself from the movie because she is upset that they dub over her, and then like a real life modern day Phantom situation starts going on in the movie set of creating the movie.
You and I need to watch Singing in the Rain. I can't believe you've never seen it. I'm gonna make you watch that one. And there's like one bit where he serenades her like outside her window, and I was like, finally he's gonna sing, and it was like near the end of the movie and he started singing and I was like, it's happening, and I was so happy. And then she like sang back at him and it was like the most tonally dissonant thing I'd ever heard, and I was like, this is glorious, and the movie was fully aware of it, so they were really playing that up, and I was like, this is
clearly
incredible. And then he also got to sing in the last song of the movie, and
I'll say like this,
everyone got a turn to sing, and then he got a turn, and I was like, yes, one more time.
He clearly knows how to take a joke well, based on that, so I appreciate that.
I almost felt kind of bad for him, honestly, but I was like, he wouldn't have agreed to this if he didn't know what would happen. He wouldn't have agreed to be, like, in another musical, so it was so entertaining. Oh my gosh. I got so excited every time he was on screen, and then my heart was broken every time he left the scene without singing.
Anyway, so please adjust your frequency. When we talked about the title, I was trying to think of other things besides broadcasting that it might be about, like the use of frequency in the title, just because, you know, they like to play around with like clever usages and stuff, and obviously this was about a broadcasting thing. But I think still, if we look at the title holistically, I imagine there might be some sense of, you know, like, please, like, you know, like reconsider yourself, you know, reconsider your stance.
Check yourself.
Exactly.
Vibe check. Please vibe check.
Exactly. I feel like it's supposed to be something along those lines and then morphed into an idiom around like, you know, broadcasting and radio and stuff like that.
If you did the parody titles for this, it'd be a vibe check.
Yeah, I could do that.
Vibe check your radio play.
I like how they were like, okay, this sucks, but like, we can get through it enough for this project. And they're like, by the way, the principal is gonna, I almost said the president, is gonna play this for like the whole school. And they were like, okay, we need to fix this.
And honestly, that's kind of relatable. Just the whole, like, you know what, we can just skate by. And then it's like, oh no, this is going to have
I don't know
like,
if it's relatable / realistic per se, I guess was the more correct term.
There have been times where I'm like, trying to just skate by on something, and they're like, oh yeah, we're going to show it to these people. And I'm like, darn it.
I don't know if I would say it's realistic for the principal to be like, I'm going to take your project and show it to the entire school when the project's not even done yet and he hasn't even heard it or know if it's good or not.
If it were worse people who were making it, they could really screw over the principal.
That's true. I mean,
that.
I assume...
Like, I'm assuming he would
listen to it beforehand. or at the least it would have to be turned in to be graded by Miss Adelaide. Yeah, I don't think they're going to play unvetted audio in front of the school
Is
made by
there
Jay.
a teacher for this class, Miss Adelaide?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I didn't hear that bit. I didn't.
The first time they brought it up, yeah, they said it was for Miss Adelaide's class.
I don't really have anything to say about this. I have so many more things to say about Cinderella than this.
She's gotten a lot of longevity as a teacher now. When you think about it,
I think that Cinderella as a story has a lot of longevity, and I was thinking, yeah.
When you think about it, it's been 20 albums now since Miss Adelaide first showed up.
Yeah, I was just thinking that.
As far
good
as,
for her.
As far as teachers go, it's pretty good.
Yeah, it's definitely on the longer side.
Yeah.
But okay, I was going to ask this in the last episode. I think I forgot. Do you think the Parkers are gone now?
No. Well, I mean, for one, Olivia's on the cover of this album.
Again. Right, never mind. Do you think Matthew's gone?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think they're gone quite yet. I don't think they would... I don't know. I feel like they wouldn't, at this point, cut out the Parkers from all Wyatt and Perkins-based storylines still.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah. I don't want the Parkers to go yet.
I feel like even if they're not, even if we don't get another episode about focused on them as a family, I feel like we're still going to at least see Olivia as a character. Maybe not Camilla because she was never in as many things, but I'm sure we'll get at least another episode with Matthew in it, and that will at least get them kind of ancillarily involved in like a Perkins related thing because they're next door neighbors.
I want a little bit more resolution on Emily and Matthew as characters.
That's reasonable too, yeah, since we're still in a major Emily goings-on kind of thing.
Yeah, and Emily has so much unresolved stuff. It doesn't really matter that she had one last conversation with Matthew in the multi-parter.
Yeah.
They should talk again.
I agree. That's a good point. I didn't think about that.
Because for all we know, Emily's just kind of all alone right now. And that's sad. Because Emily isn't one to really talk about her feelings very openly. Mm-hmm. Just regularly with people. I feel like she wouldn't completely I don't know, open up to Matthew about everything still. Definitely more open, but there's probably still a lot they haven't said to each other.
Yeah. What else do I have to say about this episode?
Matthew was in the multi-parter where Tasha showed up, right?
Yes. I believe so. I mean, they talked about him at least. I'm quite certain that he showed up. Let me check. Do you have anything else to say about the mystery itself or the writing of it? I'm trying to think. Yeah,
mystery. He's in it.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. Yeah, I don't really have anything to say about this episode. It's okay. It's not a bad episode. I think I need to listen to it again.
I like how Jay's ad reads for his miracle water became more transparently scam as he went on throughout the episode. Mm-hmm. It broke down more and more until he was maybe it's just tap water, but it's good.
I just like these three characters. I like seeing them interact. We only ever got the three of them to interact in that Snow Day part 2 episode. So it's nice to see them hang out with each other again. And Jay's cousin who can only
communicate
Jay's
through
mute
a soundboard.
Cousin who can only communicate through soundboard effects he's Bumblebee.
Jay's soundboard or Jay's ad reads is also funnier once you realize that he's not airing it on the radio and that this is a school project, and so it's more about him making a parody of the... I mean, I won't say for sure that he's not trying to sell
No,
tap water.
I definitely think he is trying to sell
but
tap water.
They didn't
people.
know this was going to be played for the school. As far as I knew, this was just a school project, and only Miss Adelaide would hear it, which means that he wrote these ads not as an actual scam, but just to like write a parody version of scam product ads on the radio.
Jay, when he finds out it's going to be broadcast to the whole school, it's like
oh, now I need to create actual Jay's mineral water.
Inside your two wolves, one wants you to actually put effort into the script so you make sure it's good, but the other one really wants you to sell mineral water and make money off of it. I'm gonna give this episode 3, I guess. I'm more positive leaning towards it, but I don't really have any strong feelings towards it.
I'll give it a 3.5. I enjoyed the fact that we actually got to see like Zoe and Buddy actually be kind of catty at each other.
Yeah.
Like, I always like it when you see a nice character snap.
I like seeing Zoe catty towards guys and not girls, because I think every time we've gotten to see her catty towards someone, it's usually like one of her female friends, or like on rare occasion, but it's more passive aggressive than catty, just like Jay.
Yeah. In this episode, they were like, these were like direct low blows at each other. And I was like, can you do that?
There's no Mr. Whitaker.
Yeah. Is this allowed?
If you're in the school and there's no wit around to hear you, are you really sniping at each other?
Are you really learning a moral lesson in the process?
But yeah. So 2 pretty good episodes back to back.
Wow. A really good episode, and then a average episode.
Yeah. Let me see what's next. My professional
I could have just...
You could have, but I'm going to beat you.
It's higher than our ways,
triple decker Sundae. I always forget Sunday spelled that way.
Yes, it is.
It looks weird. Question for you before I forget. Are we just going to listen to the next 2 ones before recording?
I think we should be safe with that probably. Maybe if we hear something that's suddenly like, oh, this is something, then we'll like stop.
I feel like I should get full rights to keep listening to that episode at that point, since I already started it and you're not allowed to complain.
No, I just said, like, if you realize the second one is related to the first in an important plot-based way, then you can be like, ooh, stop there, and then wait until it's recorded.
No, I've already started listening to it. I'm going to keep listening. Yeah. Everyone saw it here. I got full permission to listen to both episodes.
Okay, so that's what we're doing next time. Until then, thank you for joining us on our side of the YouTube. I've been Devin Francis, also known as Lauren Meltzner, or Dr. Blackheart, one of the two. Both of them. All sorts of different things. I have many names.
And I'm just enjoying looking at your face of regret.
Okay, and that's all, folks. Thank you for joining us on the Adventures in Odyssey Oddcast. Goodbye.
Bye.